Now then, people, good afternoon. I think we're still in. Welcome back to the Just Joe Football Show. I'm joined by the very brilliant Mr. Joe Lynch from Leeds United The View. His channel is in the title. So, I mean, you're already subscribed, but if you're not, go on over and click that and subscribe. We're here really to talk about what was, I mean, as weekends go for Leeds United, it was right up there. Leeds United won, obviously, against Preston. It wasn't, well, it was easy, but we didn't make it easy. We should have won 4 or 5, but hey ho. And then Sheffield United, obviously, have had the crumble of all crumbles, thrown it in. Wilder's wanting to fight people. It's been glorious to see. So really, there is no sort of structure to this. It's just to catch up with Joe. We haven't spoken for a while. I tried to get you on, didn't I, a few weeks ago when things weren't looking so gravy, and Joe was like, "Do you know what? I'm not in the headspace for it, Joe." But I knew when I messaged it today, I thought he'll be feeling much better today. So, how's things, Joe?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Just juggling time. Back working full time now, so trying to juggle the two things together and make sure I've got some headspace because I was doing too much. I was actually getting to the point where I was getting sick of looking at myself on things. So I was like, I just need to take a step back from things, and then I'll be okay. And everything's okay. So yeah, I'm all good, mate. All good.
Good. This is good to hear. What do you think's been the key to the turnaround then after the international break? We draw with Swansea, we draw against Luton, and another season in the playoff, or playoffs probably staring a lot of Leeds fans in the face. No one could have predicted. I still believed, but I didn't predict Sheffield United would have dropped off as much as they did. But from a Leeds United perspective, Joe, what do you think's been key to the turnaround? So to go to Middlesbrough, who I think unbeaten in 5, flying. And then, Preston side, I mean, we should be beating. But I guess the key one here was Middlesbrough won it. If we lose that game against Middlesbrough, then I struggle to see us actually playing well against Preston. I think that Middlesbrough game was massive, right? Was absolutely massive. So what do you think has been key to that, in your opinion?
I think Will has had a big factor in it, the fact that they want this. And you're seeing that they want this. And I think we've seen it enough this season to know they really do want it. But we're in the final 10 games, so we're in the spell where Daniel Farke has a look at the league table and realizes what's actually needed. And all of a sudden, the wobble came with that league table look the same as last year. But I think there's enough players in that dressing room to learn from last year's mistakes. I think there's enough big personalities in there to grab it by the scruff of the neck. I don't always think the big players necessarily, I mean big players, sorry, the ones that can grab it by the scruff of the neck haven't always been on the pitch at certain times. But I think there's enough people around the place to grab hold of it. I think the goalkeeping changes had a big factor in it as well, because all I've seen from Carl Darlow in the last couple of games is a very calming influence at the back, which is, doing the basics really well, catching the ball instead of punching it, holding on to it, dropping down low, all that kind of stuff. So that's been a huge factor for me. I don't think we've been brilliant in 2 games. I think we've made hard work of it, especially against Preston. We should be smashing teams like Preston, and we're just about getting over the line because you switch off for a couple of minutes and you're wasteful with your chances as well.
Right.
So we've had enough to get past Preston. Borough, as you say, was huge. And that last 15, 20 minutes of that game was not fun at all. Uh-huh. For me, it was very, very nervy from Leeds' perspective. And sat back an awful lot, which I didn't want to see Leeds do. I would be happy to see Leeds with lots of possession in their half, but we got past it. We got over the line. That's all we needed to do. And right now, I think it's just about grinding out performances and grinding out points more so than even performances at this stage. And they've done it. And I think Sunderland's absolute collapse has helped us a huge amount as well, which should be said because they've dropped 9 points in 3 games.
Yeah. Sheffield United, right? Not Sunderland.
Yeah. Sorry, Sheffield United. Did I say Sunderland? Yes, I'm looking.
Yeah. I was thinking, why did you think they still had a chance?
No,
although, to be fair, mate, living in Sunderland, some of them still did, to be honest, mate. So, they lost at the weekend as well. But, I hear you. I think the experience of last year as well, Joe, will have counted for a lot. I think there's players within the dressing room that have experienced last year. We saw the outpouring of emotion from someone like Joe Rodon, who I know you're a massive fan of. Yeah. I think Ampadu had to tell him to calm down at one point because he'd heard
he was doing this to the crowd.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, we've still got a game to play, but
it's like, relax.
He's been immense, and I actually feel as well, Joe, that Welsh triangle, has been key to it as well. Just having the calmness of Ampadu alongside the moaniness sometimes of Rodon, and then, like you say, just someone who's calm. He's not the best goalkeeper in the world, but he's calm, he's assured, he knows, he's experienced, and I think that massively helps, doesn't it?
You don't need a brilliant goalkeeper at this level. I think I
No.
said a couple of weeks ago, because the keepers that have been linked with Leeds already for next season, like, I don't need a spectacular naming
Mm.
goal. I don't want to talk about a goalkeeper for the next 5 years. I want a Nigel
Yeah.
Martin. I want someone who just gets on with his job and does it quietly. And it's only when he's gone you start talking about the fact that, geez, he was brilliant for us, wasn't he? But like, during it, you just get on with it. You don't talk about one. And I want Leeds to just be able to have a goalkeeper who's not a distraction. I don't need to see my goalkeeper being man of the match. I don't need to see my goalkeeper winning awards or, making world-class saves. I need him catching the fucking ball and doing the basics well and just taking pressure off us when we need to. Save the ones you're supposed to save. Worry about the other ones, the more spectacular ones. Worry about them at a different point, but do the basics well. And we haven't done that well enough for the last 2 seasons with the keeper, 3 seasons probably with the keeper. So, yeah, I think that's a huge factor. But as you say, that Welsh triangle's huge. They know each other really, really well. You've got the calming influence of Ampadu there. And I personally am a much bigger fan of Ethan Ampadu as a centre-back than I am as a central midfielder. Simply just because of his tempo when he plays. When he plays in the middle of the park, he slows the game down. He takes loads of touches. He drags his foot across the ball a lot. But when he's centre-back,
his range of passing as well, Joe, he's actually better than what Strout gives us. I think
you're right. I think actually in the middle of the park, he doesn't have the ability because the pitch gets shorter. So he doesn't have the range to pop them into the corners, where as that centre-back, he can take it out, kind of have a good look, see where the play is, and it's all in front of him, and then just ping a ball into the corner, which is brilliant. And he's been fantastic at that. So, yeah, I think he's been really, really good in the last 2 games as well. I quite like Gruev and Tanaka against Preston. I thought Gruev had a really good game, but he's tired and you can see it, and Tanaka's tired and you can see it. And you talked about the outlay of emotion from Joe Rodon at the end of the game. Out Tanaka in the last 2 games has buckled over at the end of the games in tears. And I think I said it to the lads last week. Me and Lockie were talking about it. And out Tanaka played something like 2,200 minutes last season. He's played 2,900 minutes already this year and still has 4 games to go. So he's miles ahead of the games he played last year, plus all the traveling he has to do with Japan, plus the pressure, and then getting a bit of stick from the fan base. It's like there's an awful lot going on right now for them to have to deal with, but they've dealt with it. And you would hope now, getting past today, or getting past the next game, if they can get a result of the weekend, which they should on Friday night, that would ease it. Then you've only got 9 points left to play for. You're running out of games. Burnley and Sheffield United play each other. By Monday night, this could be over if Leeds do what they have to do in the next 2 games. 2 wins in the next 2 games. Sheffield United drop any points, it's over.
Yeah. No, yeah, exactly. I know you might not agree, but I actually think a point on Friday is not too bad of a result. I want us to win, but I guess my point is, like, we've had quite a bit of meltdowns. If it happens that we do draw, I don't think it needs a meltdown alongside it. It's just like, okay, we move on, because even if we draw that game and Sheffield United win, as long as Burnley beat Sheffield United and we beat Stoke, we're still up anyway. Do you know what I mean? We only need 4 points, so it's massive. And I can't see Sheffield United going to Burnley and winning, because Burnley have just been so good at home. They haven't lost there. Defensively, they're amazing. Sheffield United haven't been creating a lot of chances of late. So I just can't see them beating Burnley. It might be a draw, but I think we'll be all right. What have you made to? Because I know obviously I myself have been critical of Daniel Farke's lack of rotation at times. We know that he likes to sort of play players into form, and I think we saw the fruits of that on Saturday, Joe. I thought, like, seeing someone like Solomon back to his best, Firpo looked on it. Pirro had his best game for me in a long time, apart from the final bit of finishing his chances, but the linking up and all that, I thought he was really good. So what have you made to Farke's, because I know you've been on a bit of a journey, like a lot of fans. You're still where you are. Yeah, I'm a big fan though, aren't I? So I do.
Yeah,
at times.
But I know why you're a fan. You're a fan, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but you're a fan because you know what he's done in the past, you know what he's capable of doing, and the remit is get out of this division.
Yeah.
I want to enjoy the journey. And I haven't enjoyed the journey that much. There's been moments where it's been really, really good, but there's been lots of moments where it's been unnecessarily stressful. And I won't change my tune on this. I don't like Daniel Farke's football for the most part. I find it to be far, far more pragmatic than it needs to be. I think this team, once you let them off the leash a little bit, are phenomenal. I think we saw that in the middle of the season when they were let attack they destroy teams. And I still think he said it again a couple of weeks ago after an early goal. He told us to calm down. I was like, stop doing that. Stop telling them to calm down. Let them go and play and express themselves. They're good. They're a good side. They're supposed to be the best in the league. My worry is next season is you're scraping over the likes of Preston and you're scraping past teams in the bottom half of the table, or you're dropping points to teams low down the league. You're going to be low down the league next year in the Premier League. You've got to be able to go up against bigger sides and get results. And if you can't get them against sides you should be battering in the Championship, then you might struggle with it in the Premier League. And that's my concern with him. I just think he's overly defensive minded or overly
risk averse.
Yeah, and I would like to see a bit more risk in it.
Where do you stand then on Ramazani? Because obviously we've not seen him now for a number of games. He basically came out and said, maybe he's not as reliable in a way, and from a defensive aspect, duels and stuff. And obviously we've seen now Schmidt come on in 3 consecutive games, and he's going to give him more of that structure because he can play defence and also in the final third. So, what do you make to that scenario? Because there's a lot of discourse around it. The manager doesn't rate him. The manager doesn't trust him. What's been your opinion on it, I guess, Joe?
Earlier in the season, Daniel Farke was rotating the squad really well. And I was really happy to see it. We talked last year about the fact that he probably didn't trust the bench that was behind him. And I agreed with that completely. I think there was 3 players maybe you would look at bringing on in every game. The rest of them, probably not. You had Creswell and Cooper sit on the bench at one point. Like, well, they're not coming on unless the game is sewn up. So there's 2 of your subs off the list completely. A goalkeeper, that's another one. We had 2 goalkeepers on the bench at points last season as well. So that's 4. So I understood it last year. This year, it's a much better squad. It's much more balanced. We've said that all year. And he was rotating it really well. And it was working, especially during the good runs. He was bringing players in and out. And then he did what he did last year. He just decided in the run-in, this is the team. And this will be the 11 that will get us through. And I'm like, it's the wrong time of the year to be doing it. There's players running on fumes. You've got to rotate this squad a bit better. I think he's proven a point with Larry Ramazani. He tried to prove the same point with Charlie Creswell last year as well. As if you, and he says he's open to people coming to talk to him. But then when they go and talk to him, they find themselves in the doghouse. So you're like, well, did they bother coming and talking to you? Or did they bother expressing the fact that they're not playing football and they want to play games? Because you just basically just drop them out of the squad, or you just sit them on the bench and they don't play anymore. So I don't, I'm talking shite apparently. I don't love that gas. My opinion. This is my opinion. Jay, if you've got a different opinion, that's your opinion, pal. I got my own opinion. And I've been asked to give my opinion, so I'll give it. But I think he needs to rotate the squad an awful lot more in the second half of the season. I would have liked to see a lot more of Ramazani. I think he's a really good player. I think the numbers he was clocking up at the start of the season show that he's a really good player. You need games to be in form, and they've proven that. The lads that haven't had a whole lot of football have struggled coming back in a little bit to get the legs back underneath them. So that's a problem with not playing them in enough minutes. And that's probably been a problem all season, that enough players haven't had enough minutes to be able to bring them in at key points when you need to then. His tweet today was interesting.
Yesterday, on Saturday,
Saturday, The what was it? Romans 8:18.
Yeah.
So that's taken from the Bible, which says, I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed to us. So basically what that means is sight before self. It's not about me. It's about it's about the team. So his personal suffering isn't as important as the team's glory at the end. And I'm delighted to see that. So people are telling me, by the way, in the comments that Leeds have scored tons of goals this year. So how can we attack anymore? I'm on with the games we drop points in against teams that we should have beaten comfortably. You can score 7 against somebody that does great things for your goal difference, but then you go to Preston, you just about get a win, or you're losing to Luton, or you're dropping points on the road. So that's what I mean by that.
Yeah. No, I get it. Like I say,
the games we dropped points this year, we shouldn't have dropped points, and we would have been out of sight by this stage had we not done that.
And football's about opinions, right? And I think there's a counter argument for every point you make. I do tend to agree with. I do believe he's disagree. Sorry, I do believe he's risk averse, but I actually like the football that we play. I like the control we have. I like the games that we dominate. But I can also see, I get it from both sides, and we can have a conversation about it, can't we?
And it doesn't mean that I don't respect the job he's doing, because I don't have to love the football to still understand why he's in a job and why he's doing what he's doing.
Course.
I think I said a few weeks ago, if he goes up in the automatic spots, he deserves a crack at the Premier League. If he goes up by the playoffs, that's a drop off for me, and I would look at changing. But I think if he gets up in the top 2, then he's done the job he was brought in to do, and you've got to respect that.
Yeah, I did see a poll earlier on, actually. I forgot who tweeted it out because I'd have got it up just to see. But when I voted on the poll, who was it? I think it might have been Wiggy. Let me have a look, actually. Because when I voted on the poll, it was more a case of even if we get promoted, I can't find him now.
Yeah, I put a poll up on my channel saying, even if we got promoted, what would you do with Daniel Farke next season? And I think about 1,800 people voted on it, and 66% of people said they would change.
Yeah, and that really interests me, to be honest, because like I don't know what for me, Jay, I don't know what more he can do. Like I
think it's the fear of what will happen, more so than what he can do. I think it's more a case of his teams take time to get going every year. He needs 10 games, and he has needed it with like last year, this year.
He had his fastest start this year, though.
He had a faster start this year than the previous year, but the previous year they were selling the ground and had new owners.
Yeah, it was his fastest.
Yeah, which wasn't that fast because we weren't in the top 2 or the mix at that point. But
I remember that debate, actually. Do you remember?
Yeah. So that's the point, and he won't get a chance to catch up with teams in the Premier League.
No,
he won't get. He won't get 10 weeks to go. Well, we'll ease into this. Like 10 weeks in, you're done. You're gone. So I think people are worried about that, and I would be worried about that, and that's where my head's at with it. But at the same time, that's just based on what he's dealing with this year, with the level of player he has this year, with the budget they had this year, with the league that he had this year. We don't know what he can do in the Premier League. We don't know what he'll do if he gets decent money. I would like him to get his business done earlier because apparently he has the final say on all the transfers and he likes to wait until certain players become available. I'd like the stubbornness to drop a little bit and just get the work done and get it done early so we can crack on with the year and not have any, conversations about the first 2 weeks of the season about, well, it takes time for players to bed in and we only got a business done late and we're still trying, I can see it happening. And I think lots of other people can. And then you've Jose Mourinho making comments about taking over a team that gets promoted to the Premier League and everyone's like, oh, maybe. So I can see where it comes from. But at the same time, as I say, if he goes up automatically, I mean, I'd be so angry if that was taken away from me. Because the remit doesn't say get up playing pretty football. The remit says get up.
Yeah. And I think as well, mate, like Parag, as much as I think sometimes he's full of tripe, he did say that, Farke wasn't backed previously. He's got a 2-year plan and he'll be backed under Leeds United. And I fully expect us to back him. There's a lot of people, and I get he makes the final say and all that sort of stuff, but it's then on the recruitment team to make sure they give him adequate transfers to choose from, right? And I would hope with Leeds United being in the Premier League, we shouldn't need to be waiting around for players to make a decision. We see top players going to teams at the bottom end now every season because the Premier League's it's just insane. Like I was listening to something earlier on. I think if like such and such win, I think if Chelsea, I mean, we could end up with about 7 teams in Europe from the Premier League if such and such win their European competitions. It's mad because it's like the pinnacle. So you would hope because I do think we will go up now, not that I didn't before, that we should have. It should be easy to make transfers, especially because we're Leeds United as well, without sounding arrogant.
Well, we'll also see. I mean, I've spoken to Ian Hart twice, once off air and once on air, and he said the same thing twice. And he would know from being involved with. He has 2 players that are at the club, and he's regularly pictured in the director's box in Ellen Road anyway, or is taking photographs himself in the director's box. And he said the owners have deep pockets.
Yeah,
and he said it twice, and he would have a better understanding of it than we would have. He would deal with them. He doesn't like Angus Kinnear. We have to deal with them. He had some pretty choice words about Angus Kinnear in the Q&A in Dublin. Not a fan. Happy to see him go. But if that is the case, then you want to see them flex next year. And I think it needs to be smart moves. I think everyone's saying 200 million. I'm like, yeah, probably 200 million, but 200 million on probably 4 or 5 players. Like they need to be top end players for me that come in. You've got to, because I think this team has potential. Still has a lot of potential. I don't know if everyone in the team is good enough to do it in the Premier League, but they've got potential and they're young enough to have time. And if you surround them with good enough senior top end players, that can bring them up a huge amount as well. So
I think as well, Joe, I don't know if you agree on this because I was having a chat about our squad and people, James at Leeds that need to get there first. It's done, mate. Don't worry about it. Make sure you subscribe to Leeds. That, by the way, they're in the chat there. So make sure you do subscribe. I'll do your job for you, mate. Make sure you like, share, subscribe to Leeds. That I know you don't mention it on the pod enough. But a lot of people were saying to me, Gruev, no chance. This player, no chance. But I think you need to be careful to just bomb players out, because ultimately, if we go up and get relegated, which is a massive possibility, you need to ensure that you... So, for example, next year I look at Ipswich and I go, they're going to bounce back. They're going to bounce back because of the players they bought are very much not going to be picked up by Premier League sides. Will stay in the Championship with them and they'll go again, a bit like Burnley have. And you need to be careful because, say, Ampadu, James just put in the chat, he's 24. If he has a great season, he might get then picked up by someone. If Rodan has a great season, he might then get picked up by someone. So then you're going, oh shit, we then need to replace them. That's why for me, the core nucleus, I don't think we see sales apart from maybe, say, a Melier. Yeah. Who else are you selling? Because we don't have a big squad as it is, Joe,
But I'd like to see.
But I still want to bring players in that improve.
100%. This squad is too small. And it has been too small for a while.
Yeah, for a while,
right? Yeah. So the 18 is fine, but then when you start getting a couple of injuries, James DeBoyle comes onto the bench, Sam Chambers comes onto the bench, and then it starts to get and that's okay when they're ready to be on the bench, as opposed to putting them on the bench because you have to fill spots that are empty. So it's bums on seats rather than it is bringing in players because of ability wise. Now they're on the fringe because they're good enough, but they're not getting into the starting 11. They won't be in the starting 11 this year. So I agree with that. And I think if you keep that core and you add a couple to it, then you've got a Premier League level squad. You want about 24 players of a first team squad in the Premier League. Yeah. You want two teams. You want two players in every single position that can compete, and you need backup when you get injuries. And we know the last time we were in the Premier League, we went 2 years without a proper central midfield backup, and it cost us. This time we're going up with definitely 3 central midfielders, possibly a fourth. I'd like to see them look at Ethan Ampadu as a centre back and bring in another midfielder as well there. But I wouldn't be getting rid of probably anybody in the team. No. You're going to probably lose Firpo anyway at the end of the season.
Yeah, that's
probably
fair.
Lose Melier naturally. Rothwell will probably go back, and that'll be the end of him. Natural one. Solomon, I don't know where I stand on it. I've wanted more from him in the last couple of weeks. I wasn't happy with his defensive work, tracking back, especially when the goals in a row a couple of weeks ago where they counterattacked from a Leeds corner, I think, and they scored the back post to Mark. And if you look at the replay from behind the goal, Manor Solomon standing beside the bloke who scores. And
did you know though, Joe? Did you know that there is only one player in the championships that's created more bigger chances than him?
I know that. But I want to see that from him because of the level he's supposed to be at. He's supposed to be I'm not taking anything away from him. He was phenomenal at the weekend. It was excellent. But I want to see that every single week from him because we're being asked to pay around about 25 million quid for him. That's an expensive player. He's Premier League level. He says it himself. He's Premier League level. It's like, well, I want to see you doing what you came in to do, and that's picking the ball up and running at fullbacks and going at them 1v1, which he hasn't done enough of in the last couple of weeks. Now, he did at the weekend, which was great to see him back. And it's form, it dips and it peaks in at different times. Yeah. Hopefully now he's coming into his form now at the right time, because I think his involvement at the weekend was key. And we're going to need that without Dan James now for the last couple of games, just to make sure we've got goals and assists coming from somebody in the wide area. So, but I don't know what that looks like next season. Everton are talking about looking at him as well. Do you get into a bidding war with him, or do you just go elsewhere and get somebody else at that point? But they're the ones that for me that would likely go away. I think Joseph possibly goes out on loan. I'd like to see him go out on loan and get a full season under his belt and come back better. And you got gaps there, so they've all got to be filled, and then you got to add to the squad as well. So there's still room for a lot of players to come in and still keep the core of that current squad there.
Yeah, I agree. I think who's this? I've just seen in the chat here from 1 second. Where is it? I think up to 12. Mate, if we got rid of 12 players, we'd have no bloody squad left. So I don't know where I think, look, you might see players like DeBayo go, these players on the Gelhardt, Greenwood. In terms of what the squad that's currently playing now, I agree with what Joe, maybe Rothwell, but someone said Aronson will go. I don't think he will. He's a squad option. He's a squad option. I don't want him as the starting 10. But if you're winning a tight game 1-0, Aronson's perfect to bring on the pitch. Perfect.
Tear around and upset people.
Yeah. Like, you don't get rid of a player like that, for me anyway. No, if it's tight game, we're playing, I don't know, Burnley in a relegation 6-point. I want Aronson running around like a fucking madman. You don't get rid of that. He's he has a lot not going for him, but his engine's insane. His engine's insane, and I think he's got the. Go on, sorry.
He's got better. He's got better this year. I mean, if you look at his numbers in terms of his tackling, all of a sudden his percentages on the tackles that he's won have gone up. So he's stronger in the tackle. He still loses probably more than he should be. Yeah. But as he's the number 10, like tackling's not their biggest attribute, and his numbers have got stronger. Again, he beat 1,500 minutes all last season. He's on 2,800 and something this year. Like, so again, it's a huge amount of, and they should be able to do it. But going from one season, I mean, Jaden Anthony was talking about it this year, how it's taken him so long to get going this year because he just didn't have the volume of games last year. So that kind of, you're starting cold essentially, and it makes sense. Yeah. So if you can avoid that, brilliant. So, but yeah, I don't know, Joe. It's fine.
Yeah, it'll be fine. Like I say, won't it? It definitely will be fine. Yeah, Max Vober's probably one who could leave. I think Max Vober might go in search of full-time football, and I'm totally fine with that as long as someone's willing to pay for him. Then you can take him. Regardless what happens, I think we definitely need. We definitely need a left-sided centre back. I think I made the point you made about Ampadu and then Jack and Lockie and that were like, but in the Premier League he'll get gobbled up on left centre back. And I thought, you know what, they're probably right. So we might need to buy there because Strauch's obviously injured a lot. Solomon, I think we sign him. I think 25 million is a good price, personally, Joe. I think he's been really impressive this season, but he has dropped off of late. But we saw the best of him again. Someone's just asked, would you bring back Phillips? Mark, I would. I don't know Joe's stance on it, but I take him back because
3 years, 3 clubs, 3 managers, same performances. No. Unless you're going to do, and again, the Q&A in Dublin was interesting. Andy Cousins was talking about Phillips, and he said that Bielsa identified him as a key player and built a squad around him, built a system around Calvin. Yeah. No one's done that since then. And only Southgate's been able to get regular good performances out of him as a double pivot. So unless you're changing the shape to 4-1-4-1, if you're doing that, absolutely bring him back in because they'll thrive in that. If you're playing a regular system, I just haven't seen enough of him. He's on 150 grand a week. You're not paying that for a player who hasn't done it at 3 clubs in 3 years. It's not even a Pep conversation anymore because he had 2 managers at West Ham. Manager at West Ham who liked him, and then he ends up at Ipswich who wanted him, and it's not been great there either. So I don't know. I think sentiment needs to go out the window at this stage, and Leeds need to buy proven players if they're going to bring players in and not be taking gambles on anybody at this stage. I love him though. Don't get me wrong. I loved Calvin at Leeds, but it's a gamble. You don't know what version you're getting if he comes in, if he's going to be better. Maybe he comes home and all of a sudden he's a better player. But these conversations were all happening before Bielsa took over at Leeds as well. So, I mean, the only spell is the Bielsa spell.
You know me, man. I take him every day of the week, but that's just me.
I know that. I love the kid, and I'd love to see him back in a Leeds shirt at some point, but he's going to cost you, and his wages are going to be very high. And in your first year back, you probably need somebody that can be more stable at that level.
Yeah. Here's totally left field, and Elle's put a comment in, and I was thinking about this earlier on because I was listening to one of my many football podcasts, and they were talking about Ange and him potentially getting sacked if they don't get through this Europe thing. Well, someone said, do you think he'll get another Premier League job on this podcast? And they were saying, I'm not sure. And I genuinely felt, I was like, I would take Ange. And I know the chat will probably laugh now, but let's say it does go wrong for Farke, and by then Ange is out of a job. I do think there is a great manager in there that, maybe he struggled to get some out of Spurs, and there's a certain level.
They've been crippled this year with injuries, Joe. He went 6 months without.
They've come back now, though, Joe, and it's arguably worse. But
I know, but they've been out for 6 months. Yeah. that's the problem. He's dealing with players that have been out for so long, and now they've come back in and have to get up to speed. He was probably better off sticking with the team that he had and giving them a couple of minutes, but he's been forced to. Look, I watched an awful lot of Ange at Celtic, huge amount of it. And I can tell you his philosophy on football, Leeds fans would love. Every pass has to go forward. Every pass he wants forward. He, in most of the clubs he's been at, he's played really attacking football. I mean, can you really take the Spurs job as the job and then condemn his entire career with that job?
No,
how many top managers have made a complete bollocks of Spurs? At some point it's Spurs. Do you know what I mean? At some point it's Spurs. Yeah, I'd agree as a squad player. Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
agree with
same,
that.
Matt. This is where I'm at.
Yeah. No issue.
I think Calvin, where his career's at, would walk over hot coals to come back to Leeds. I
Oh, yeah,
genuinely
he'd probably
think he
jump
would.
at it, yeah. But
If we went up and said, look, because Ipswich are going down, I think he'd go, yes, bring me home. And I think and I believe Calvin's an emotional player.
yeah.
I think we see a different Calvin at Leeds United than we saw at Ipswich, at West Ham, and at City. I do believe that
You'd hope
because
so.
he needs an arm
Yeah,
round his shoulder.
As part of a squad, yeah, absolutely. But
Yeah.
would he be my starting number 6? I would probably want better. But you could get him back up to speed. And again, depending on what the system looks like next year. But anyway, sorry, on Ange, very attack-minded football. He's very honest coach. Like, he won't bullshit you. He tells it exactly. And then it's funny because you've got some fan bases who will say, I just want my manager to be honest. And then you go to Spurs and he's super honest. And they're like, I wish he'd stop just saying things the way they are and just give us a political answer. Like, you can't really win then, can you?
No,
but he's a good manager. He's won an awful lot in his career. I have a lot of friends who are out just single Celtic fans, and they will tell you out straight they would take him over Brendan Rodgers any day of the week. They've hated Brendan Rodgers football this year, and they're going to walk away with the title this year. But everything under Ange with them was better. Europe was better in terms of the football they played and had a proper go at teams, and they were never afraid of anybody. And I think Leeds fans would really enjoy Ange. I would bite your hand off for Ange if it became available, because I think this season is just an outlier. I don't think it's what he's capable of producing with a club. And I think he knows it himself. Spurs haven't spent enough money this year, or haven't given them the money to bring in the right players. You know, they brought in young players. They spent so much money on Archie, and they're going, yeah, but you probably needed a first choice centre back, but you didn't buy that because you went for the young kid, so that Liverpool didn't get him. So their policies haven't been great either. But yeah, I like Ange an awful lot. I also think Leeds fans would like Jose Mourinho because he'll shithouse everybody and they'll just.
Course, man, I would love it. I would absolutely love it. I would take Mourinho in a heartbeat. But anyway, listen, I believe, and you've said yourself, I think Farke deserves the opportunity first and foremost, and we'll see how that goes. This week, obviously, Easter weekend, it's normally brutal for Leeds fans. It looks like it might be a much better one this year. How do you see it going, mate? We've got Exford Friday night. I think we're the last kickoff, and then we play Stoke at home on Easter Monday. Do you think we're looking at a situation where we're promoted on Monday night, or do we have to wait for Bristol City the following week?
If the pressure's eased and they're a bit more relaxed coming into Oxford, and Oxford are missing a couple of players now as well for the game on Friday night, which would be important to them. And you go and get 3 points there, which again, this is the point. And I know at this stage of the season, like, performances usually go out the window and it's all about the points. But Oxford are a decent side. Obviously, they took points off Sheffield United, sorry. But you've got to go and beat those teams. You know, if you want to go up as champions, if you want to be the best team in the league and you want to be champions, you've got to go and beat these teams. So if they can beat them and then go and get a win on Monday night, which will be tricky as well, but it'll be back at home. And I think what a place to win. I think the Oxford game away is good timing, because you've got the win at home. You've taken the pressure off. You can go away now. You're not going to have the fans on your back as much because it's a smaller crowd. And then you've got Monday night to just go, and you'll know by Monday night what you need to do, you know, assuming that one of your two sides drop points. I mean, Burnley are away to Watford. They're not that bad at home. They're decent at home.
No, they're not.
In the league. And then Sheffield United at home to Cardiff. If Sheffield United have absolutely capitulated at this stage, we'll see. I would be shocked if Wilder doesn't get a touchdown ban. Not necessarily because of the fight that started in the tunnel, but because of other clips that have come out today of him talking to a Plymouth fan saying, "You're going down, fat boy."
Yeah. Classless.
Oh, it's pure classless. He hasn't got any class. But yeah, I think he's made a massive mistake. I think I said it last week on the preview or the review that it'd be interesting to see if Daniel Farke's protective stance of his players and talking about how, you know, when they drop points, it's a valuable point on the road and we're not going to talk about poor performances, versus Wilder's approach of going, every single one of my team didn't give enough today and it's not good enough and they've got to do better. And by the way, our fans are crap. They've got to step up as well. I was like, which one of these is going to work? Like, will the protective one work, or will it just be a weak kind of stance, or will they kick up the arse that he's trying to work? And it seems that his version of things has collapsed spectacularly on them, because for all the ball they had at the weekend, they created nothing. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. And it just shows, like, Farke having that calmness has obviously helped Leeds. And I think sometimes we need that, because as a fan base, we're far from calm, are we? So I think it's... say it.
Yeah.
Stop calling me emotional. It's not. It's not taken the way you think it's taken. Stop calling us an emotional fan base, whether we are or not. You know, that's like walking up to somebody and going, "Calm down." You know,
Yeah,
what's
yeah. When
going to
you,
happen here?
yeah, I don't need to calm down.
Yeah, that's an
I
emotional
am
fan base. You're
calm.
calling emotional. You know.
Yeah,
So
let's go with
yeah.
that. Calm down. I'm calm. Brilliant. That is so good. Well, Joe, I think listen, we've done it. We've done as much as really there is to talk about at the minute for Leeds United. It's now just a case of waiting till Friday and then obviously Monday, two games in 4 days. Be interesting to see if the manager rotates there, to be fair, because you probably would think you'll have to see if James is going to be back fit, but we'll see. Yeah. So is there anything else you would like to touch on, Joe, while we're on?
No, I don't think so. I mean, there's all the good stuff happening behind the scenes as well. The Allen Road expansion and all that stuff is going to be announced, which is going to be fantastic for everybody. No, just want, as the old saying goes, just go and win. Just go and finish the job now. It's in your hands. Go and finish the job. Believe in yourselves, back yourselves, and go and show everyone how good you actually are, and go and polish off Oxford on Friday night, and then in you go to Stoke on Monday night and go and win that game, and then you're up, as far as I'm concerned.
Same.
And I'm at the Bristol City game, so I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, that'll be bouncing, mate. It's one of them that, like, as soon as the watch along's done, if we're up, I'm getting in the car and driving straight down. So if it happens at Bristol City, mate, I'll see you after the game. I'll come and find
I'm
you.
staying over as well, so I get a point.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah. That'd be great, wouldn't it? Just before we finish, Christopher, thank you so much. Gifted 20 Just Joe Football Show memberships earlier on in the stream. Christopher, you're a legend. I hope you and the family are well. And Justin Thomas, who's been a member for 29 months, says, we are going up marching on together. And we'll finish it there with that, Justin, I think, because we are going up for sure. Folks, that'll probably be it for content today. There's not really much more to speak about. It is a case of just waiting now for Friday, but I'll try to do a show a day. We'll think about it at the minute. It's that good that there's nothing to talk about.
There is nothing to talk about. Yeah.
Right, folks, we'll see you in a bit. Bye-bye.